Well, when we last left the Atlas lathe down here in the basement, we had determined that I needed another belt, at a minimum one more belt, to replace this sorry excuse for a belt. And we had done a quick measurement using this puppy right here, this piece of cording. Came up, I think, with 26.5 inches, if I'm not mistaken. So we came up with 26.5 inches there. Now, the thing is, the V-belts are actually, the measurement on V-belt is actually taken as the outside diameter of the belt. So by me using this cording, I'm going down into the pulley here. I'm actually closer to the inside diameter when I get that 26.5 inch measurement. That's really more like the ID of the belt. So I got to factor that in. So to get a belt that has a 26.5 inch ID, it's going to have a larger OD. So I went and looked through all the belts I had, and almost all of them are too long. I actually found one that was really short. I don't even know what I'm going to ever use that on. I did find one 27-inch belt. I measured it and came up with 27, and then I realized that it's got a number right on it right there. And can't quite make it all out, but I can see a 27 in there. So this is a 270, so this must be a 27-inch even, outside diameter belt. So we're going to try that. Now, on the Lathes UK website, there's a section on that website with history on the 9-inch Atlas lathes in the compound drive. And the author recommends that if you do not have the belts for this, say you got a lathe and it had the belts missing, he recommends a good starting point to try and size a belt would be a 30-inch belt. In other words, stick a 30-inch V-belt on there and then see how it works out. But don't have a 30. I'm going to try the 27 and see what happens. The other thing I thought about afterwards was, you remember how I put this this bracket assembly with the gears on? After I put that on, it occurred to me that maybe, just maybe, the guard's supposed to go on before you do that. So I'm going to check that out. And then another thing I need to do is I need to get take a high-resolution photograph of the threading chart on here, because I actually had a request from the moderator of the Atlas group on Yahoo. If I could get him a high-resolution photo. I guess he wants to put it in the file section of the website in case anybody else comes along with change gear issues on one of these lathes and does not have their chart. So we'll do that. Okay, no worries about the guard. The guard is completely outside of that whole area where the bracket is. The top of the guard is fastened through this bolt right here for the bearing cap, and then there's one other bolt down here, small one that goes in here that holds the bottom of the guard on, and that's it, really. Yeah. All right, so I'm going to put the camera up on the tripod here for today's work. Although I'm kind of embarrassed at the mess I've still got down here in the basement that you can see behind there, so try and ignore that. Got the that box right there and that box right there. That's the two boxes that house the 2-ton shop crane that I picked up at Harbor Freight on the road trip the other day. And I think that's going to come in real handy down here working on the Hendy. But anyways, without further ado, let's get this spindle off and throw this belt on and see if it's going to work. I packed up all my tools to take on the road trip the other day, and I didn't unpack anything yet. I just realized looking at this, I didn't notice it before, but this is a Logan chuck right on here. Right there. Logan 439, I think it says, or 430. You know, it seems like there's certain names of manufacturers of lathes that keep coming up together. You know, they seem to all be in the same family, so to speak, and that would be Logan, Atlas, Clausing, and then maybe to a lesser extent South Bend. But But anyways, just thought I'd mention that. No reason. Alright, so now I've got to undo this. This is a lot easier. Pop this out. I can see right now this belt's getting too short. I think it's got to be too short. Slack position. Yeah, you think? Way too short. So, it ain't gonna happen. Waste. Oh well. I don't know unless I try. Now I know why that website said 30-inch would be a good starting point. That was way too short. I did have that on the pulley correctly, didn't I? So now I'm doubting myself, going to recheck it. Okay, so I just moved the belt that was on this pulley over to here and confirmed that this was a pretty good fit. So, kind of like, so I think I can actually use this belt to go to the store and maybe size one up. In the auto parts store, you know, you go to an auto parts store that's also a Tractor Supply type of place. Not Tractor Supply company, I'm talking about like a place that, you know, has a lot of agriculture on that. They might have something like that. But, you know, just a straight old regular auto parts store is going to be unlikely to have a proper belt. And I can't, even if I find the number on this belt, I can't go by that because this belt's been spliced right here. Oh well. I just moved this other belt that I had on the three-step pulley over to here because yeah, that's really nice. So we're still going with this as the best fit. Recall correctly, last time I tried this belt over on this step pulley, it was too short. So let's confirm that. It's going to fit there. If I put this belt on here, it's way too tight. So, what you got is you got 3 belts on here, 2 the same size, and 1 quite different. Oh, well, another standstill now on the Atlas. I think maybe I'll take a look at that motor. Alright, so there's where I dumped the Binks sprayer that I picked up for the motor. And rather than haul that heavy thing around, since I'm going to pretty much be scrapping it anyways, I think what I'll do is I'll undo these bolts here, take that whole top assembly off and just put that up on the bench, or I should say the top of the parts washer, which is doubling as a workbench for now. Alright, well I got that unbolted. That's still pretty heavy. Just want to show you, this is kind of neat. I like how this was made. These are cast brackets that are got a curve in them, and basically they cradle the tank. So once I undid that, it just, the tank comes right off. The tank's so old, probably won't save that. I don't know. I kind of want to save those brackets, even though maybe never before I use them for anything. So when this was all together, I couldn't quite figure out how this worked, because I thought this pipe went down to something, but it turns out that pipe is actually just, doesn't go anywhere. That actually is the bolt just to mount this. So this unit right here acts as a pressure regulator. So basically you get the output of the compressor right here, goes into this T, and then this pipe goes down into the tank. So as the compressor fills the tank and pressurizes the tank, the pressure inside the tank is going to be basically the same as the pressure at this point here. And what happens is the pressure builds up in this vessel at the same time as in the tank. And when it gets to a predetermined point, based on how tight or loose this screw, right, this fitting on the top here is, at least how I believe this works, it will push this ball up and out against this spring and let air leak out. And the tension of the spring on the ball determines at what point that's going to happen, and the tension on the spring is controlled by how tight or loose this knob is. So this is a very crude but effective setup. Okay, so job one. Let's get this horrible cord off of here. Never seen one like this before. That's got two what look like carbon brushes, cylindrical ones, and the wires go right to, look at that, wire's bare. So the 120 is wired right to those two carbon brushes. And they push on these two areas here inside the motor that actually turn. Boy, that's a heck of a setup there. So apparently what I have to do is I have to loosen these two brass nuts, and then the ends of the wire should come out. Alright, so it was pretty long, the strands of wire that are actually hidden underneath that brass washer and clamped down by the brass nut. So I'll have to mimic that when I put the cord on. For our temporary testing setup, we're just going to put on a cord that's, this is not what we're going to go with. This is a cord that, let's see, this is, judging by the length of it, I would say this is like cut off of a vacuum cleaner that we threw out. But this is going to be fine for purposes of testing today. Being extra careful tightening these, because I would not be surprised at all if this cover is made out of a material called Bakelite, which is very brittle when it gets old. Bakelite. Alright, the outer sheathing of this cord is much smaller in diameter, so the only thing that acts as a strain relief on this cord is how tightly it fits in here. This doesn't fit well at all. So that's not good, but this is just going to be for testing purposes. I noticed on the top of this somebody scratched top, so they had this off and they realized that this can only go on properly one way to make sure that they properly touch those plates in there. Alright, so now I'm getting ready to test fire this thing. So I'm going to stand off to the side and plug this in. I fully expect one of three things to happen. Possibility number one, absolutely nothing happens. Doesn't make any noise, doesn't do anything. Possibility number two, you might see a flash, some sparks, and it trips the circuit breaker. Possibility number three, if it trips the circuit breaker, by the way, I'll be plunged into darkness because all of my shop lights are plugged into that circuit. Possibility number three, actually four possibilities. Possibility number three, it hums really loud and the motor starts to smoke. Possibility number four, it starts running and just makes a hell of a racket because it's hooked up to that weird old compressor that when you turn it slow makes the gas passing sound, but I'm sure at speed it sounds very different. So, wish me luck. 3, 2, turns slow. The RPM on this motor. It's 47 frame. I've never even seen a 47 frame motor. AC motor. Type KSA. Frame 47. Form C. Volts 110. Amps 5.4. Phase 1. Single phase. Quarter horsepower. 60 cycles. Speed 1725. That's supposed to be 1725 RPM. That sucker seemed like it was going really slow. Alright, test number 2 here. I'm going to try this again. I want to see how fast it really is turning. That compressor actually works pretty good. That belt's slipping. Green pop. I don't know. Belt's not slipping, really. See if I can't pop this belt off quick without having to loosen the motor bolts. Come on. Come on. What does the bearing sound like? That actually sounds pretty good. I'm wondering whether or not it's underpowered to turn this compressor. Rotation on that thing. Uh-oh. Hold on a second. That poor puppy's counterclockwise rotation. I think that's going to be a problem with our lathe here. Ah! Bummer.